Russian Z-patriot Maxim Kalashnikov spoke of the inevitable overthrow of the Putin regime due to the protracted aggression against Ukraine. He emphasized that Ukraine's capabilities are growing daily, while Russia's position is deteriorating. War leads to inevitable political upheaval. We must prepare for it, wrote the Z-blogger. The propagandist drew attention to the lag in the military sphere. He recalled that according to a decision by the Ministry of Defense Board, unmanned forces were supposed to be deployed to the Russian armed forces by the end of the third quarter of 2025, but they still haven't been created. Meanwhile, Ukraine formed its Unmanned Systems Force in record time on February 6, 2024. Kalashnikov also recalled that Ukrainian drones are systematically attacking Russian oil refineries, causing a fuel crisis and undermining the country's economy. Russia's air defenses have proven ineffective in repelling these attacks. A monstrous delay in decision-making, a monstrous inertia in the scientific and technological struggle. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand the outcome of the current positional SVO, Kalashnikov emphasized. Z-bloggers' comments reflect growing dissatisfaction with Russian society, with the Putin regime and its ineffectiveness. Social discontent in Russia has been growing rapidly in recent months. In this case, social uprising is inevitable. Earlier, Z-patriot Igor Strelkov admitted that the Kremlin greatly underestimated Ukraine when it launched its invasion in 2022. The fundamental first and foremost mistake is a completely incorrect assessment of the operational situation in Ukraine, both domestic, political, socio-political, and military. We went to war expecting to encounter a weakling, but what we encountered was a professional boxer, well-trained, fresh, and with new gloves, which turned out to contain a lot of things we hadn't expected. Consequently, we got our comeuppance. Strelkov wrote. He noted that Putin, when deciding on a major war, expected to be fighting a Ukraine like 2014. However, it turned out that over the years, Kiev had managed to build a powerful, professional, and well-equipped army. Moreover, Ukrainian society as a whole turned hostile to the ideas of the Russian world carried on by Russian soldiers on bayonets. All this ultimately resulted in the failure of the war, with the flight from Kiev and Kharkiv as well as from Kherson. And today, Moscow is bogged down in a war of attrition with no end in sight. Strelkov ridiculed last meeting where Russian dictator Vladimir Putin discussed with generals the non-existent successes of his army on the front in Ukraine. "I couldn't be happier. Everything is going so well for us at the front. And how many more years will we continue to unstoppably advance at a speed that in some places reaches the speed of a steamroller crawling uphill? A year? 2? 3? Will there be enough people?" Strelkov wondered. He is confident that the Kremlin will not achieve any victory at the front at this rate. Moreover, Strelkov believes that in the coming months, Russia will face something that will radically complicate its position in this war. "I have a strong expectation of something very bad happening," Strelkov wrote.
President Donald Trump says his administration will brief Congress on the alleged drug vessel strikes, but says he doesn't believe the administration needs a formal declaration of war. "I don't think we're going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war. I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country," Trump said to reporters during a briefing with Homeland Security officials. "We're going to kill them. They're going to be like, dead," he said. According to Associated Press, the U.S. military on Wednesday launched its ninth strike against an alleged drug-carrying vessel, killing 3 people in the eastern Pacific Ocean, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said, expanding the Trump administration's campaign against drug trafficking in South America. It followed another strike Tuesday night, also in the eastern Pacific, that killed 2 people, Hegseth posted on social media hours earlier. The attacks were departures from the 7 previous U.S. strikes that had targeted vessels in the Caribbean Sea. They bring the death toll to at least 37 from attacks that began last month. The strikes represent an expansion of the military's targeting area as well as a shift to the waters off South America where much of the cocaine from the world's largest producers is smuggled. Trump has justified the strikes by asserting that the United States is engaged in an armed conflict with drug cartels and proclaiming the criminal organizations unlawful combatants, relying on the same legal authority used by President George W. Bush's administration for the war on terrorism. We will track them, we will map them, we will network them, and we will hunt them and kill them because they're trying to and they are killing and poisoning the American people, Trump's Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said. The president said the strikes at sea have been so effective that the U.S. will soon strike targets on land.
On the drug boats, sir, has there been any discussion about capturing one so that you can show the amount of narcotics?
We know everything about them, yeah, Jennifer. We know everything about them. We know where they're coming from, who they're coming with, generally who's in the boat. I'll let Pete discuss it a little bit, but they have incredible intelligence. And, you know, usually when you see 5 engines, I've never even seen that before, but when you see 5 engines on a boat, going about 65 miles an hour, loaded up with white powder in silver cases. Generally speaking, that's not a good sign. They're not going fishing, right? And you don't see any fishing rods, right? So, Pete, I'll let you discuss that a little bit, please.
Well, yes, sir. Likewise, generally you don't see fishing in submarines either, sir. So the U.S. military, as I mentioned, nobody better in the world at mapping networks, identifying who's connected to who inside terrorist organizations. It's just the media is used to hearing that when it pertains to Afghanistan and Iraq and ISIS and Al-Qaeda. But if you reframe how you understand the world in our own hemisphere, that's exactly what these foreign terrorist organizations are. And so we will track them, we will map them, we will network them, and we will hunt them and kill them because they're trying to and they are killing and poisoning the American people. And inside that, we have all the license necessary, all the authorities necessary to take these kinetic strikes, and we'll continue to take them.
Amazing. But we have the Gulf of America, and there are very few boats, very, very few boats, not even fishing boats, to be honest. I don't want to do that to the fishing industry, but it's been so effective. And our sea drugs, as they call them, they use the term sea drugs, the drugs coming in by sea, are like 5% of what they were a year ago, less than 5%. So now they're coming in by land, and even the land is concerned because I told them that's going to be next. You know, the land is going to be next. And we may go to the Senate, we may go to the, Congress and tell them about it, but I can't imagine they'd have any problem with it. I think, in fact, while we're here, I think it's a good idea, Pete. You go to Congress, you tell them about it. What are they going to do? Say, gee, we don't want to stop drugs pouring in. They're killing 300,000 people a year. I think that's the real number, 300,000 people a year. So between that and my discussion with President Xi, I think we have never made progress like we've made. The sea drugs are almost dead, and they can't come in that fast from the land. And the land drugs are much more dangerous for them. It's going to be much more dangerous. You'll be seeing that soon. So that's the way it is, yeah.